We now move into another interesting session, Reimagining the Tech Play, Talent, Transformation and Trust, where our panel will talk about accelerated speed of technology evolution and how the pace has varied over the decades, their approach to building talent, capability, and mindset to align with the speed of transformation. Our speakers for this session are Lucy Quist, Global Head of Firm Resilience, Morgan Stanley, and Rajat Puri, President, Legato Health Technologies. Chairing the session will be Shalini Pillay, Office Managing Partner, KPMG. A brief introduction, Shalini Pillay is Officer Managing Partner, KPMG. She is part of the India leadership team and a member of the board for a few KPMG entities. Shalini also leads the Global Capability Centers, the GCC markets for KPMG in India, working with global organizations and their GCCs as they evolve and optimize the global service delivery model. Shalini will be joined, as I mentioned, by Lucy Quist, Global Head of Firm Resilience, Morgan Stanley, and Rajat Puri, President, Legato Health Technologies. A brief introduction, Lucy is a thought leader and the first Ghanaian woman to head a multinational telecommunications company as the former CEO of Airtel Ghana. She is co-founder of the Executive Women Network. She's also the author of the book, The Bold New Normal. Rajat has over 2 decades of experience. Rajat is responsible for global delivery of functions like IT, digital, claims ops, clinical ops, call centers, execution of technology, and business ops function in a true global model. It's a pleasure to have all of you here with us this morning. Over to you, Shalini.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another panel at the NASSCOM GCC Conclave 2022. I am Shalini Pillay. I'm going to be in a very exciting fireside chat with my panelists here, Lucy Quist and Rajat Puri. Welcome, Lucy and Rajat. Looking forward to the next 25 minutes of our brief interaction. And we have a really exciting theme before us today. Ours is about reimagining the tech play from a talent, transformation, and a trust perspective. The one thing that has been on top of mind for everyone through the last 2.5 years through the pandemic, and the one factor that has steered us through has been technology. Transforming and taking in its wake absolutely everything that has changed our world of today and the future tomorrow. We're going to spend a few minutes talking about what that transformation has been, what has technology driven, and what does it continue to drive in terms of our business models. Geographic boundaries have clearly blurred. Business value chains have got completely transformed. Everything centered around customer centricity, around the employee experience, and the world as we knew it is completely different, completely transformed, if I may say that. It is wonderful to have both of you here with very, very different, diverse backgrounds, working into very different industries, both kind of regulated, if I may say, financial services and the healthcare space, both that have been absolutely upstage and center in terms of driving transformation and impacting human life cycles across the many aspects that you all touch upon. So today we're going to get into some of these themes, talk a little about what has that technology transformation meant, how is our talent environment coping with what it requires to deal with, where does that future hold, and what does it mean from a trust, from a resilience perspective, as technology connects this very diverse, vast ecosystem, bringing us all together on a common plane, on a common global service delivery platform, delivering for the world of tomorrow. So looking forward to that. And as we get into it, I'm going to begin with my first question. And it's a question to both of you. Would love to get your thoughts on when you step back and reflect on what these 2.5 years have meant and what technology transformation has done within your organizations. Tell us a little about what technology transformation has meant for you. It could be based on an area that has actually driven the most impact. Give us a little bit of a sense or a peek into your world and what has tech transformation meant for you. Lucy, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so I think of this question and sort of try and narrow it down into the more sort of recent future, recent past, not future. It's all a blur these days. And I think about a few trends that have driven the technology transformation that we're seeing. So overall, I think it's fair to say that the physical and the digital worlds are coming together more and more. And we know that the workplace experience is being transformed by this. We're now in a world where the interaction and with technology is a lot more personalized, and people are enabled to connect with technology through devices that are that are personalized on their own terms. And then, of course, we also have this explosion as the population shifts of a workforce and a global population that is increasingly digitally native. So this really has had a great impact on how technology can be scaled, and the acceleration of that scalability, because if you have people who are native to it, you have personalized access, you have an interaction between what is physical and what is digital, then you start to see that the transformation that we have experienced probably in previous generations when new technologies are brought about is happening on a much greater scale and at a much bigger speed today because of all of those factors. So if you look at our own business, for instance, our cloud adoption journey continues to accelerate, and cloud not only as a sort of a business delivery tool imperative, but also from a building resilient systems and products point of view, cloud enables that. We have a much younger workforce who thinks about cloud in terms of it being first, as opposed to someone like me who thinks of it as a move from the way things used to be. Technology transformation is also allowing us, through our data capabilities, to visualize our organization. Now, being able to visualize your organization from digital data flows actually means that you have a more effective and efficient way to understand how your business operates. It also means, of course, you get the opportunity to monetize data where appropriate. And then the last thing I touch on from sort of an impact from a business point of view is the ability to increase the speed with which you actually serve your clients and process your transactions. The overlay, though, that I put on all of this is that there's a leadership imperative in ensuring that all of this is not happening devoid of leadership. Leadership that really understands the impacts, leadership that's able to take people along on this journey, leadership that's able to join the dots, because what you don't want is to have everything happening so quickly and have a bit of a runaway train with it. So that's how I'd sort of characterize our technology transformation.
Wow, you summed up a whole bunch of things, right from what we call the phygital world to the digital native talent that's enabling all of this. And yet, like you very candidly and humbly admitted to saying, how does leadership cope? It's about generations that are not as digitally native. So we're going to come back to you, Lucy, on some of that, but a great opening. Thank you so much. Rajat, your perspectives on what has technology transformation and this evolution meant for you?
Yeah, Shalini, thanks. And you know what, well said, Lucy. I think to Shalini's point, you really summed up every single thing that I was about to say. So I could comments, but just to add more healthcare perspective, while our healthcare industry in US and more so globally has gone through some tremendous change in the last 2 years, I think of a couple of examples just from a digital transformation point of view, which would help, right? So one is preventive healthcare, and the other one would be digital virtual healthcare. So just to expand on the first transformation, which is preventive healthcare, one of the positives that came out of the COVID pandemic was that people started thinking of their health more seriously, right? Whether it was mental or physical and whatnot, right? So therefore, what we are seeing is a more heightened interest in maintaining their own physical and mental fitness from all of us. And so there are a multitude of companies that have come in the last few years that are focused on that. They offer people a regimen to exercise, meditate, and even have like a balanced diet, right? So it's quite evident that people are using these technologies. So the other related development is virtual healthcare, right? Patients are more and more comfortable using digital technologies within the comfort of their homes, right, to see the doctors. And vice versa. I think doctors and providers are using these technologies to interact with their patients. So therefore, again, outbursts of technologies in telemedicine, telehealth, remote diagnostics, just to really provide quality healthcare services across the globe. So at Legato, we are keeping track of how fast this industry and expectations of consumers are changing. We no longer can be selling just traditional healthcare insurance. There is so much more expected in the entire healthcare journey. Like I said, from physical, behavioral, mental, and well-being. This shift can be seen in repositioning of our company from Anthem to Elevance through what we're trying to do now is really being a trusted health partner to all the stakeholders, be it our associates, clients, or communities. So I think this is a great, I would say, journey, beginning of a journey for us in digital transformation. I'm very excited, Shalini. I'm very excited about what is going to happen in the next few more years with the entire pivot of digital technologies and so on in healthcare industry.
Super, Rajat. I mean, you touched upon elements that are very personal, which all of us have experienced, given what technology is doing to the healthcare space, online checkups, online consultations. It's been quite phenomenal, and you're clearly at the core of driving some of this. I think you made a great point on the repositioning of the company itself, which speaks volumes for how the tech transformation is impacting your very model and how you kind of are driving it around that customer centricity, providing services. Lucy spoke of increasing speed and the efficiency with which you're serving customers. And that goes across a bunch of things, not just business delivery on the cloud, like you spoke of, Lucy, but including elements of resilience. So some great points there to get us started, and at the same time, feel the impact of what technology is doing to our world, to your organizations in particular. And a very closely connected theme to technology. And, when we talk of this, you laid the ground for what is reimagining the tech play all about. But alongside that, and Lucy, you touched upon it in terms of what is it going to take to change, to keep pace with the changes, whether it's rewiring the business model, whether it's reconfiguring how you kind of define your processes and how you align them. Most importantly, how you realign and gear up for the kind of talent you're going to need. I mean, most of what we've heard about is only about 5 years old, and which is why today your talent in the 3 to 5 years space is in highest demand. But at the same time, there's a huge upskilling ask. So would love to hear from you, Lucy, on as you maneuver this tech place, so to speak, what are some of those change imperatives and how are you driving that?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. And before I dive into the sort of change imperative, I just want to reconnect with something that you said a moment ago, Rajat. I'm personally particularly excited about the impact technology is having in the healthcare space, because we know around the globe, a lot of people are left behind in terms of access, not just raw access, and additionally access to high quality healthcare. So I'm particularly excited and inspired that this revolution is going to mean that more people on the planet can have access to high quality, affordable healthcare. So, thank you to you and your organization and all that you're doing in that sphere, Rajat. So coming back directly to your question on change, I love that question because it brings together the idea that technology itself, yes, is again, the change is accelerating, we're doing great things, but there's a human impact and there are people involved, and it's just not sort of machines and boxes doing all the work. It's people who are doing the work, and it has an impact. And the analogy I love to give people all the time is that, somebody could have used a mobile phone for a very long time. The moment you take their phone away from them, especially a particular brand, and you offer them a new brand, they haven't become any less capable to make a phone call or use data or any other app. But you've given them a device that maybe speaks a slightly different language, the layout is different, the approach is different, and they have a learning curve. And in that learning curve, sometimes their efficiency of using the phone can be diminished, even if it's a better device. And I think that's essentially what we do with change management, right? We try to limit the short-term impact of the change that we're going through with new technologies as people learn and adapt to the change, so that they can come out the other side quicker. You limit the time, and that's an improved level of performance is what we really try to achieve. So in our organization, as part of our transformation, we have taken change actually very seriously and been very intentional about it. And the thing about it is that you want to be able to articulate to people some form of vision of where you're trying to get to, so they know what they're trying to achieve. Even if it's long dated, even if it will take 2 years, 5 years, give them a sense of where they're trying to get to. And then once you've done that, then the second thing we focus on very heavily is communication. People need to continually hear what's going on, what's been achieved, share milestones, big and small, share successes with them, let them know that all the work they're doing and what they're experiencing is actually getting them closer to that vision. And then the last thing I'll add, so that we, to bring home the point, is co-opt colleagues into ownership of that change and being ambassadors for that change. So we, for instance, across the firm have established a change agent network of hundreds of employees across the globe. And these are people who evidence the new technologies that they're using. They talk about the experiences that they're having. They support their colleagues on that change journey. And they also provide feedback and input to the leadership team. So they reinforce the communication by creating a two-way channel as ambassadors, but very importantly, it ensures that the change is being experienced and discussed and worked upon at every level, all the way down to the grassroots of the organization. So there's a huge human imperative in being successful at achieving technology transformation. And I encourage every organization to take that aspect extremely seriously.
Super. And I can't help but ask a very small follow-on to that, Lucy, because what we are at is the Global Capability Center Conclave, where we actually have large numbers of people working across borders, all towards a common objective and purpose. And any pointers for those listening in on how you are driving that change when you work with teams across many geographies? Anything in particular that kind of jumps out that you'd like to call out there?
I would have to revisit the point I made about change agents and ambassadors, because a lot of engagement and guidance can come from the top down. But when you're a dispersed organization, just as we are, when I talk about our hundreds of change agents, we have our biggest change agent population is actually, in India as a singular location, but you have them in other locations, North America, London, and so on. And they are such a crucial part of a subset of the broader organization that owns your transformation, owns your changes, really engages at a peer level and brings it to life. So I would sum it up and say, you need people who will bring it to life, make it real for people in their day job, in their teams, where they're sitting.
Super. Thank you. Thank you for that. And to kind of move to another aspect of this change, Rajat, the model has evolved where today organizations are working closely besides their own teams and their workforce with the partner ecosystem. What has technology and this tech play done in the environment from that perspective? How are you seeing it come together as you work with your partners in the wider ecosystem?
Yeah, I think that's another great point, right? I think leveraging our partner ecosystem is key. I mean, to my previous point also, there are various companies and startups that are coming up and are solving some of the most complex issues in healthcare, right? We have to leverage them. We cannot build every single solution on our own. Healthcare is complex. I mean, in fact, when I was in India last month, I met few healthcare startups, and I was very impressed with their thought leadership. I mean, they did a fabulous job looking at very simple problems, but with very simple solutions as well. I think, as I said, healthcare is complex, and we tend to make it more complex by developing some complex, solutions. But I was very impressed with the simplicity of the solution that they have proposed. So I'm looking forward to leverage them and others in our, growth journey. So to your point, startups, ecosystem is very important. In addition to those startups, I feel we have to leverage some of the bigger players like Amazon, Google, and other big ISPs to really help us get there in healthcare, right? Again, I think we have used them a lot. I think there's an opportunity for us to even leverage them more, as we grow. The third thing I would say, which from an ecosystem point of view, is all our, I would say, academia, right? I think
Yeah.
the opportunity for us to really leverage them and use their expertise in getting the talent that we need. I think Lucy's point on talent is spot on. We have to partner with those institutions to make sure we're getting the talent that we need right time, and also helping us by training them while they're still in their institute. So there's a great partnership opportunity between the industry and the institutions that we can further develop. Hope that helps.
Absolutely, Rajat. It answers. And in fact, in today's world, you cannot kind of strip the model from, all of these important enablers. And given your role when you oversee operations, I'm curious, when you look at all of the tech investments and you look at return, how are you kind of measuring the impact? Because technology comes at a cost. There's a lot of investment going into the system. How do you go about taking that view, and how are you seeing this model kind of influence? How does it come together, or how do you measure some of this?
I think that's a great point. What has happened for us is, just to give you a backdrop of Legato, right? When we first, obviously from zero, it has been a growth journey all along, right? We grew from zero to around 25,000 associates in the last 4+ years, one of the largest, and the growth journey on the GCCs.
Correct.
From just a back office claims processing shop, right? Transformed our organization into becoming a world-class global capability center, delivering value-added services to US, right? I think we did that all using technology, innovation, expertise, and so on, right? The talent that we were speaking about. The health tech space, in my opinion, continues to be promising. And so we remain bullish on leveraging India, Philippines, Ireland to that aspect. I think to your point on the ROI, driving excellence through innovative ideas, digital first mindset is very important. We want to make sure that we don't really keep on doing the manual work that we always used to do. Putting technology in front and center is extremely important. With that in view, we're taking some really good steps. I mean, one of the things that we have done, Shalini, is combining our IT and business ops teams together. Something that, we tested it out initially. We got great efficiencies, not only by, getting both the teams sitting together and solving some of the complex problems. The other thing that we really could do was upskilling our talent in different things. So we upskilled our business ops team in technology and vice versa. Our business ops people trained deeply into the domain. So with that, actually, we're getting more and more efficiencies that we see every single day. So I think a lot of things happening in that space as well.
So clearly a constant eye on the ROI, which is looking good from whatever you called out. And you spoke of upskilling. And one more question, Lucy, I'm curious. Thanks for that, Rajat, but a good segue for me to ask Lucy as to how are you really enabling this so-called digital native talent pool keep pace with change? Because technology is kind of progressing at such a fast pace, but what has it meant for you and your organization in terms of the whole upskilling agenda as you get ready for the future?
Yeah, no, really good question. So very clearly, it's about identifying the areas of upskilling interest that are aligned to our journey and aligned to continuing to make an impact for our clients and all our stakeholders more broadly. So while we continue to recruit the best and we want to engage them, I think everybody wants to feel a sense of growth and advancement. So we heavily focus on providing the actual training materials for people. And the great thing is that while we have a host of self-selecting training materials, we also provide people with directed training, particularly aligned to their roles. So for instance, when we went through, I say we went through because really it's been going for the last few years, and it feels much more settled now on our agile transformation journey. It was very intentional. We were very intentional around not just providing self-selective training, but actually intentional training. And the interesting thing is that we didn't limit the training to only people who are working in teams that directly will adopt the model from us from maybe a software and product development point of view. But we actually included managers and leaders who may not have their fingers on the keyboards, but they are the leaders of these teams. And what we did was also train people around not just the impact on developing their products, but the impact on how we organize ourselves as an organization, how we structure and how we team together, so that you have everybody learning this particular skill at a level that's appropriate to the role that they play with the organization, to create those synergies so we all end up speaking a similar language, understanding each other, while making sure that we're looking at things from a perspective that's relevant to the role. And that's just one example of how sometimes upskilling is not just about the individual, but ensuring that that skill can find its place in the organization, and they can feel valued because the new skills they've acquired are actually required to deliver their job.
No, absolutely. And I'm sure you will see the long-term benefits of that, because what you're doing is pulling together an organization in a really meaningful way. So it's not just individual upskilling, but skilling of teams that come together to deliver, common outcomes, which is fantastic. Well, I could have gone on chatting with you all much, much longer, but we are constrained by time. The subject of reimagining tech play across talent transformation and trust is a massive subject, with each of these being sub-themes. But as we bring this to a wrap, if I had to ask you for your quick thoughts on what do you think is it that will be required to sustain and keep pace with this transformation in a very meaningful, responsible, sustainable manner, what would be your top of the mind thoughts? And maybe Lucy, you could continue, and then we'll get Rajat to help wrap this up for us.
Yeah, look, I would use the word partnership, because we tend to think about technology organizations sometimes in somewhat isolation. In every industry, technology serves a greater purpose in terms of the products and services that we provide. And the partnership element I mentioned is that it's important that the technology organization partners with other parts of the organization that are looking at other aspects of the business and the broader sort of community. So I talk specifically about areas like, for instance, we have an Institute for Sustainable Investment. So you want to make sure that you're understanding what sustainability really means. And another example I would give is around our Institute for Inclusion, which is looking at sort of the communities in which we live and operate, looking at how we diversity, inclusion, and equity play out in these organizations, communities. So my point is partnership to bring in knowledge and insight that helps to make technology find its place in the greater context of the world we live in.
That's fantastic and so relevant, especially with all the focus on making things sustainable and taking a very responsible approach to it. Love that, Lucy. Thank you so much. Rajat, your quick thoughts as we bring this to a wrap.
Yeah, I think this is a great discussion. I would focus more on talent in my closing. So this has been clearly one of the most interesting and the challenging times for the industry, right? All industries, all companies, in terms of hiring and retaining the talent that we need, right? So we knew we had to be agile and think really out of the box and not let the pandemic put brakes to our hiring and growth plans. So I think every company, including us, what we had to do very quickly was to reboot our HR strategies, right? To use more digital, to ensure this hiring, all of that. So I think with that being said, we hire the talent that we need and we continue to hire the talent that we need, right? The thing that all of us need to really focus is how we can really retain the talent and really, to the earlier discussion, how we can really grow the talent, right? So now the next pivot for all of us, including Legato, is really how do we actually give them the support that they need, whether it is upskilling, what we're talking about, giving them the hybrid work environment, right? Every company is doing that. Legato is doing that as well, making sure the workspace and everything is hybrid, right? I mean, they feel comfortable coming to the office. I mean, the previous to pandemic, And some of the new graduates that we hired, they don't even know the office space, right? So that workspace experience is key to our growth, I would say. Other than that, I think we had great talking point that we had already discussed, Shalini. So, with that, I think talent development is my key focus. I'm sure other companies also going to focus on that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Rajat. And like I said, there's so much we could talk about. Talent by itself could be a theme, but will continue to be a key imperative to success going forward. I think it's been a great conversation from two organizations that have successfully realigned and rewired your models through the pandemic, continuing on a very steep growth trajectory. Being very conscious of, if I had to sum up a few things and a few takeaways, Rajat, you spoke of repositioning the company. In some sense, you've repurposed given what technology has done to your industry. Lucy, you talked to us about the whole change agent approach, which is so needed, especially with a diverse workforce that's pretty much working from anywhere across the globe. How do you kind of drive and align everyone to a common purpose? You also spoke about the skilling across the organization as you described. And to wrap up, partnership and talent, I think two very, very critical themes, which sums up a lot of where the focus for the industry is going to continue to be. So thank you so much again for joining me in our discussion today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you again for sharing all of your experiences and thoughts.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Shalini, for aptly summing up that very interesting and insightful fireside chat between Lucy, Rajat, and you. Thank you for chairing that session as well.